Hey, what's up guys? BJ Dell back with an all new weekly art challenge review video. If you guys are new to the channel and don't know how this works, basically every Wednesday I shoot one of these videos highlighting and showcasing some viewer artwork sent in from the previous week before, and then at the end of that video I give you guys a new weekly word prompt. You've got from Wednesday until the following Tuesday to do a design based on that new weekly word, and then you can post that over on Facebook, the Keep Creating a Learn, Draw, Share art community group over there, which I'll link in the description below. I'll tell you other ways at the end of the video how you can send in designs too if you don't use Facebook. But then that following Wednesday I pick a handful of designs based on that word and do a review video. So last week's word was Disney with the release of Disney Plus. So let's see what you guys came up with. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into it this week. The first one up is from Michael H, and Michael H did Cubby Gummy from the Gummy Bears. Just love this one. Honestly, one of my favorite cartoons growing up with the Gummy Bears, and I think this one is just a fantastic piece. Number one, as you can see in the background, this is a traditional piece from the picture that he took. So one of the things I kind of want to stress, and I've talked about before, if you guys haven't joined the Keep Creating group over on Facebook, which I'll link it in the description below, want you guys to hop over there and share your art, but it does not have to be digital. So if you're new to art, if you're just starting out drawing, just on paper with pencil, traditional is welcome over in the group as well. So no matter what you're creating, just as long as it's artistic in nature, definitely jump over there and share away. Just because I do the digital tutorials here on YouTube doesn't mean that's all that we're looking for to see from you guys in the group. So definitely, if you're a traditional artist, feel free to join the group and post. And I think this one is a great example of some traditional art. I love the blending that Michael did here with the pinks to get a darker pink here to give the shadow effect, and then fades it into the lighter pink, which is really well done. And then of course the white around the front of the face and the white around the hat here gives a really nice highlight effect there, and works really well in this traditional sense. Love seeing the little bouncing lines here too. Kind of gives that energy and action lines to the character. And if you guys have watched the show before, Cubby Gummy's the one that's full of energy. He's always bouncing around, very energetic and adventurous, and always going out there. And I think that really lends itself well to kind of establishing the character. So great job there too. So thanks so much for sharing that this week, Michael. Next up is Bryan W. He's got this fantastic piece of Princess Aurora from Sleeping Beauty. I like the overall look of it. It has the way that it's colored in, almost kind of like that stained glass feel. So I like that you went with the brushes here to kind of give it that stained glass feel. Like just the overall texture that it has to kind of portray that to the viewer. Love the line work as well, and going back into the castle here. The one thing I definitely noticed, and I like the way that the road here leads up to the castle. It's got kind of this curve to it rather than drawing a straight line down for a road like this that would look kind of boring. This curve is really nice, and it kind of flows well with the curves here of her dress, and the way her arms outstretched here holding the dress. This curve here kind of leads you up to here, and then that curve leads you here. So it's a really good composition piece to, draw the viewer's eye from here into here. And that's one thing to really consider with your artwork is how do the lines interact with each other? Is there, a pattern that can draw the viewer's eye into the picture further? And I think this one's a really good example of how you can achieve that. Like I said too, just with the technique used for the colors and the coloring in, I think the color choices themselves are really good as well. The greens here with the yellows in the sky that fades down to the blue, I think that works really well. And you'll see this is almost like a reverse here. So the castle tops here are yellow and then blue up here, and then the sky blue down here where they kind of meet the yellow of the tops here, and then as the tops here that are blue come up, that's where it switches then to the yellow. So I kind of like that, almost like a yin-yang type of color scheme between the roofs and the sky. So really, really well done. Thanks so much for sharing that this week, Bryan. Next up is Burnin Art, and of course now Marvel is part of the Disney universe, so Marvel Marvel is fair game when we do a Disney challenge. And once again, just going back to what we talked about with Michael's traditional piece here with the gummy bears. This one is actually, like the name says, Burnin Art. This is actually wood burning art. And this was a box that has, all the different sides. And Burnin Art decided to do this as a Marvel box. So you have tons of different Marvel characters. And I just wanted to bring this one up just because, once again, there's so many different ways to approach art. There's so many different mediums that you can use to be creative. This is just another one of those. And it really doesn't matter what you use. I don't know if you guys have seen some of the videos on the internet or YouTube, people making art out of just salt, and they'll pour salt around and make designs out of that. I saw a really cool Assassin's Creed one the other day that was really mind-blowing what you can do, but just kind of shows you don't get locked into a certain medium. If you think, okay, well, I see you drawing with the digital and I'm no good at digital, or I can't afford a fancy iPad and Apple Pencil. There's so many different ways that you can approach art and so many different tools that you can use, and this example from Burnin Art is just phenomenal. I love the pieces. The coloring too is just great. The shadows here around the eyes, and same thing here on the side of the face, are just really, really well done. And I love seeing that you can get this type of work just from wood burning. So thanks so much for sharing that this week. Just absolutely fantastic. Next up is Fernanda G, and this one, of course, is Mulan. And I love this one. The blue here in the background just really frames everything and sets it off. I like how it's got that kind of loose just roll to the sides here. It's not, perfectly straight. It looks kind of messy and artistic, and I like that. And then, of course, just the textures used throughout for the highlights here and the shadows here. I just love those textures. I don't know if that was a noise brush that you used, but it kind of has that feel to it. And the same thing here across, if we zoom in, across the cheeks and the nose, just this shading in here that kind of gives that rosy look across there. It's just really well done. Everything is proportioned well. The design flows nice, and it's just a really, really strong design. It looks like something that will come out of, kind of the Disney artist desk. So fantastic job, Fernanda. Next up is Jay, and Jay did The Rocketeer. And Rocketeer is always one of my favorite Disney movies as well, and I love this one. Just the composition overall is fantastic. We talked about last week how hard foreshortening is sometimes to get it right and to get it looking good, and this one is once again kind of one of those master classes in foreshortening, how the Rocketeer is coming out at you, so as he goes back in the distance, his body kind of narrows in down here, and the feet are really small. The body up here and the helmet are closer to you, so they're larger, and everything kind of trails back in the distance. So fantastic job on perspective. The foreshortening is just on point and looks so good. Love how the cloud here kind of trails off and around, and then the clouds back in here tied in with the blue, and then the solar flare right here just kind of really set everything off. So just overall fantastic job, Jay. Love seeing your stuff. Next up, Aaron T, and Aaron went with Donald Duck, and this kind of shows you too the planning process you can make when you started a drawing or a design. Aaron started this out just a hand sketch traditionally, and then moved over to digital. So that's the hand sketch, and then this is the digital version, the final version here. And I really like, number one, the color choices. I think this has kind of that vintage Disney feel to it. As kind of Disney progressed through the years, everything got to be that almost like primary color, very just bright in your face, almost garish type. And if you look back, a lot of the older stuff kind of had that more muted color palette, and I think this one kind of falls in under that. As you can see, the yellows over the years, those with Donald Duck got super bright, super almost like yellowish orange, and I like how these are a little bit muted, a little bit softer, and I think it works really well. Like the overall pose too is really cute. One thing I would pay attention to here is when you've got lines that kind of butt up against each other too close, it looks a little bit weird. I try not to have lines like this. You've got a really super small gap in between where the sleeve comes down and the bottom of the mouth or the bill comes around. So with this here, I would probably so there's no gap there. Just bring, this will work, just bring this arm just completely down here to where you really can't see it. So I would just make that completely blue in there. When you've got lines like that that are too close together, it sometimes looks a little off. You might not be able to tell exactly why it looks off, but little gaps like that that are too close sometimes just look a little weird. So I would just have it come up like that and just be one piece right there, no gap in between. But a really fantastic job, Aaron. So thanks so much for sharing that this week. And last is Lambda M. And we've got the Queen of Atlantis. Atlantis, one of the more underrated Disney movies of all time. And I think this one is a fantastic job showing this character. I really dig on this one. You've got the kind of hard outlines for the body here. But as the hair comes around, I love not doing that hard black outline and then just using basically this glowing green color that's used here in the necklace and then also the eyes, and using that as the outline. I think that was a really good design choice to kind of add that ethereal feel to it. I really like the glow here too of the necklace and the way that it kind of casts around here to the chest and over here to the hair. One thing you might want to do here is actually bring that glow up, because I think obviously looking at our eyes has that glow as well. I can't remember from the movie if I think the eyes glue in the movie. So if you, let's see, airbrushing, just kind of bringing that, I mean, obviously you know how to do this because you did it down here, but I think just adding that same airbrushing quality up here, kind of on top of where the eyelids are, maybe a little bit underneath there, just to kind of give that same glow as you've got here. And I think that would look cool too, is, pulling that around on the hair here that pulls down, just to make that kind of pop a little bit as well. Obviously a little bit tighter in there, not all over the face like that, but you get the idea. So really great job. The other thing here too is the lines used for the body, the shoulders here coming up, down and around the chest and the bottom. You got really, really thick lines, especially here, the neckline's thick. Which I would assume here it would be just because if you are using different line weights underneath the jawline, you're going to have a shadow, so that's going to be a thicker line. But the jawline itself, I would think, would be a little bit thicker to make it stand out a little bit more. So you see the shoulders, everything here is super thick, and then you've got the jawline is probably one of the thinner lines in the piece, minus this neck piece here and the collarbone coming out here. So I would probably thicken that up just a little bit, either that or kind of drop the sizing of some of these, maybe making, the lines here as they come in just a little bit thinner since you've got the hair behind it. Usually I try to make, and not in this example because the way that we just discussed about the hair, but usually anything here on the outside, that's usually where I try to make the thickest lines, and then anything here on the inside is usually where I try to thin them out, just to kind of give that outline to them. So just using the thick lines here but not here, just looks a little bit off with the jaw. So like I said, just thicken that up a little bit. I think it would help out. But overall, just fantastic piece. Love the colors, and the way that this light comes down to is just really, really good. So that is it for this week. Those are the picks of the week for Disney. Alright guys, that's it for this week's video. As always, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Special thanks goes out to everyone that submitted designs this week. You guys killed it with the Disney theme, and love seeing what everybody came up with. Now that Disney's this huge universe and has Marvel and Star Wars and everything, it was so fun to see what your guys' favorites were. So thanks so much for submitting designs. Also, if you liked today's video too, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the bell for notifications so you can get alerted when I post new videos. And last week's word was Disney. So this week, the Patreon people are already going to kind of know the inspiration behind this. I do have a Patreon set up and a Discord group set up if you guys want to hop on over there and help support the channel. I was talking about this on the Discord group the other day, so they already know where this word comes from. But this week's word is hedgehog. Want to see what you guys can do with that. Should be fun to see the cute little designs that you do with that, or if you do something creepy and scary too, that'll be kind of neat to see. So you can submit those on Facebook, the Keep Creating group, or if you want to, you can send them them to me through email. My email address can be found on my website, bjdell.com, or you can tag me on Instagram or Twitter, and I can be found there at bjdell. So until next time, keep creating.